Alright, what is going on? It is Oink here, bringing you the latest in seasonal events from Gran Turismo 5. The most recent ones are Tous France Championnat, and I'll be going into how I got my gold times, what car I used, and just some general tips, as per usual. So, as I said, it's the latest one is a French Championship, basically for low-powered French cars, well, relatively low-powered. So the entry regulations then is a maximum performance points of 450, tyres maximum of sports hard, and the only other regulation, which is that it is from France. The tracks you'll be racing on is Deep Forest Raceway, Special Stage Route 5, which is the Clubman track, Suzuka Circuit, Tokyo Route 246, and the Eiffel Kart Custom track. The prize for this event is the Peugeot 908 HDI, and this is a premium car, costs about 4 million from the garage. It's a race car, a Le Mans car. It's actually a very nice car, really good reward given that this isn't the most challenging of events. The car that I've chosen to compete is the Renault Sport Clio Renault Sport V6 24V from 2000. This car is really nice. It's been reformatted for racing with an MR layout as opposed to its original FF. Gives it some really nice stability, some real nice power, and just makes it a comfortable drive. The settings that I've used are as follows. Obviously, maxing out on the tyres for this event is sports hard, so make sure you have those on. Brakes, leave the same. Suspension, I customised these. I found the car did oversteer just a little bit. I dropped the ride height fairly significantly for just a lower centre of gravity, tightened the spring rates a little bit again just to help keep it nice and sturdy. Make sure your roll bars are relatively tight, you don't want it sort of swinging left and right, as that will just increase your oversteer rate. Obviously upgrade your drivetrain completely, and on the limited slip differential I actually decreased the acceleration sensitivity because I was just finding that I was getting a little bit too much wheel spin as I came out of the corners where I just had a little less grip, and I didn't really like that, so I turned that down. As you can see here, the gear ratio I actually had set down for the last track, but for the most part I think I went with 155. There is no turbo kits needed. I'm pretty sure it has one already equipped. Basically just upgrade the rest of it so that you get up to the 450 performance points. I went with the racing exhaust, some intakes, sports CPU, and then it was at 100%, and as I did each race it will, the engine will get more powerful. You just need to tone that down each time. Each time it says that you're over the power limit. So we'll get started on Deep Forest Raceway then, track number 1. This was highly dependent on who the actual competitors were in this race. Actually, that was similar for most of these. The guy that's in number 1 is likely to either be a Renault Megane Sport, maybe a Peugeot 106 Rally or something like that, or the other one was an Alpine A11 something. There's another Alpine A3 something or other, which isn't that great, but if it's the Alpine A110 or something like that, that's going to make your life a bit tougher because that's a really quick car and he will get a big lead on you. So if you don't get him, all of these should be relatively easy. If you have that guy in the lead, it will take a bit of time, and if you're really struggling, just exit out and reload it until you don't get that guy in the race. It's kind of a cheap tactic, but it works. First raceway then, it's a little bit lumpy in times. As you can see, it kind of swings up and down. Just make sure you don't put too much power as you're coming into those dips and stuff, because as I said, this car does have a tendency to oversteer. Take first place then. There was a big gap between second and first, and took him on halfway round lap 5 out of 5. So like I said, you've got to be on form if you're racing with that guy. If not, it should be a relatively straightforward win. Special Stage Route 5, Clubman, whatever you want to call it. One of my favourite tracks. It just looks incredible. Anyway, this really suits this little Clio actually. It's got some nice sweeping turns, some nice smooth lines you can take, and it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Most of it is sort of cambered turns inwards, so always the correct way, which means you have less tendency in oversteer, and you should be able to put your power down a bit earlier. Again, had the Alpine in this race, managed to take him on lap 5 out of 5, about halfway round. so you'll need to be driving relatively quickly, but again, it's not like super tight. Suzuka course then, in this event I didn't have the Alpine in, so this is a relatively straightforward one for me. However, it is Suzuka, which always poses some sort of challenge no matter what you're doing, just as it is a very highly technical course, and you need to just be aware of that. Obviously staying out of the sand at all times, because that is a killer. Make sure you turn in nice and early for most of these. Again, you can put the power down relatively early on most of these corners. Just watch out there on the hairpin. I ended up generally having to drop into first gear, and just watch out because with the high revs can cause you to spin out just a tiny bit. For the most part, if you're using this car, it performs incredibly well at high revs. I'm pretty sure the turbo that it has attached would be for high revs. You try and keep this as high in the revs as possible. Generally it's quite a nice idea to counter oversteer by staying low revs, but I find that this car really performs amazingly well once you do get it up into the higher revs, so I generally try to stay just, you know, as high as possible against the rev limiter, and that's when you get the most out of this Clio. As you can see there, that one wasn't the biggest challenge. Moving on then to Tokyo Route 246. Again, another fairly straightforward course, plenty of width on this one. You can get quite a lot of speed through the corners. Power down fairly early. Just watch out though, it kind of gets, you get these flat sections which you just suddenly get a bit of flat. Just watch out that you're not putting too much power out of on the exit of the corner, as again you can spin the car a little too much. Not even just spin, sometimes it just really likes to oversteer, and then if you try and counter steer that, it might just spin back the other way, because obviously you've got the weight right in the middle with that MR layout, so as soon as you try and switch it one way or the other, it really just does react to that and pulls it one way or the other, and then yeah, it kind of can mess you up there. As you can see, I take first place. It was a Berlinette in first place, another solid car, another solid contender, so watch out for that one, but took him on the last lap with a fair amount of space there. And the final one, probably the trickiest of the courses. I actually found that this was really tough against the Alpine. The first time I tried this I had the Alpine, but I had to head off, and so when I came back I couldn't beat him the first couple tries I had. I ended up a good 10 seconds behind. When I came in again, it wasn't in the race, so it was a lot easier for me. However, I did decrease my transmission down, so you get more you know, acceleration. There isn't much straight in this, you don't really need the higher top speed. And I also just put on a bit, I had switched on my skid recovery. For the other courses I actually didn't have any settings whatsoever except from ABS 1, but for this last one I did use skid recovery just to give me that extra boost. Now I hope you guys found this interesting and useful, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.